Hey guys, so glad that you're in the course and still doing well. I'm on actually a strange place to do a little lecture from, but I'm in a vehicle headed to Dallas, Texas with my wife. I'm letting her drive, by the way. And see my middle daughter, who is actually married, which is really weird to have a daughter married. I don't feel like I'm that old. Maybe my beard says so, but maybe not. But my wife and I have been married for 26 years. And in those 26 years, we've had quite a bit of conflict, like everybody. And so I wanted to share a few thoughts on that. As a therapist, I get an opportunity to sit in a counseling room with couples and help them kind of work through their issues and conflicts. One of those things, if you can manage conflict well, you're going to do pretty good in marriage. If you can't, those things build up over time. A lot of folks have a hard time. They'll have a conflict, but they don't resolve it. And for me, it's like putting it over here in a bucket, and they keep doing that. After a while, the bucket gets filled up, and it just spills out. And so one conflict leads into other conflicts, and then you have a big mess. So in marriage counseling, often I'll have to open up that bucket, take one of them out, help them kind of resolve that one, and then go through that whole bucket, resolve all the conflicts, and then teach them how to keep that bucket empty by regularly having conversations to resolve conflicts. One guy, normally I have some videos by a guy named John Gottman, and we do a discussion on it because we've got to do some extra assignments because I was required to do some things. I cut some things out because it is a lot of work. I know it is. And so because of that, what I'll probably do is put a link to those videos, and I encourage you to watch them, even though it won't be for a grade. They're not very long. He goes through what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and just 4 dynamics in conflict that a lot of folks use that aren't good. And you can kind of see that. You'll recognize it because we all have those negatives and sometimes. So I want to share just some thoughts from a therapist. When I do premarital counseling, these are kind of things I share with couples. One of my things I say often when it comes to conflict is either you can be right or you can have a good marriage. You can't have both. And what I mean by that is that if you're in marriage and your relationships, if you're fixated or really focused on I'm right, you're wrong, and I got to prove that point, it's kind of like you're a child, and you're going back and forth. I said, did not, did to. Just not a great way to do that. For me, it's about perspectives, my perspective and your perspective. And even though I disagree with the way you see things, that we're going to be okay with that. I'm okay with that. And now we want to stay married, so what do we need to do about that? And so I often tell folks, hey, let's say you are right, 100% right, and you argue with your spouse, and you argue, and you just keep arguing until you prove your point to them, and they finally have to admit you're right. After that exchange, they love you more, right? Obviously they don't. That's not helpful. And so anything you do in marriage, to me, you shouldn't do anything that's going to take you further away from that relationship. You want to draw them closer to you, so don't do anything to impact that. Your relationship's important. If you remember back to the 5 love languages, those negative interactions during conflict drain that love tank. It takes so much to pour into it. So you'll be very careful when it comes to conflict. One of the issues that you'll hear in John Gottman's stuff, he talks about the difference in criticism and complaining. And so from his perspective and mine, you can complain all you want. Complain is you have a particular issue that you have trouble with. Let's say my job, and it is to take out the garbage, and I agree to do that. And so let's say I don't. And so my wife calls me and, hey, I'm not happy with you. You said you were going to do the trash, and you did not. Okay, good. She can complain. We can talk about that. What would not be helpful is a global disparaging of me. You're so lazy. You never do anything around here. Why don't you take out the trash? Well, that's not fair. That doesn't. You really can't resolve that. And so instead of criticizing, complaining's fine. Criticizing is off limits when it comes to that. Here's another principle. If you get this one, then I think you'll be a long ways down the road at resolving conflicts. I believe, and I really do believe this, that in every conflict, that each person is at a minimum 30% responsible. Did you hear that? No matter what the conflict is, I don't care what it is, you have a part to play. There's 2 of you guys, and 30% is on you. And a lot of folks, when they come into marriage counseling, I know immediately whose fault it is. It's always the other person. It's not about them, it's about the other person. It's kind of interesting if I have each couple list all the problems they see in their spouse, and I've done this, like what are the issues, what do you think they do wrong? They'll make this really long list. And then I'll say, all right, do you contribute? And most people are at least say, well, yeah, I'm not perfect, so yeah, I have some problems too. All right, well, list those things for me. And every time, their list about their problems is a lot smaller than their list of their spouses. But the same thing is their spouses does the same thing, back and forth. It's harder to see our part of that. And so understanding that we are partly responsible can help us apologize. It can help us, work through issues. Because if you don't take your responsibility, your part, and you feel like it's all on them, then that's an issue. The other thing is really separating the issue from the person. The other person is not the problem. If the other person is the problem, the only answer is to split up, to divorce, to end the relationship. But the problem is the problem. Let's say you have a spouse or somebody in your relationship with that drinks too much. All right, so they're the problem, right? No. Their drinking is the problem. And so we can get together and talk about that and try to solve that problem. But they are not the problem. And so understanding that will help you move down the road in resolving those conflicts. Sharing your perspective as you're talking about it, the way I see things, be humble about it. My view is this. All right, listening to the other person. And so you'll hear, there's so many things we could talk about. I don't have time to go into the whole details, but listening really well, reflecting back the other person. I might do another one and talk about that communication a little bit. Be very important. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts. The video's getting kind of long, so we'll end it right there. Please email if you have any questions. Glad you're in the course. If you have any issues with anything, or please, you can call me, you can text me, message me. If you message me, I'll message you right back. And call me. I want to help you in any way I can. Thanks.